Hello everybody, welcome to Room Room Zoom. Let me ask you something about Harley Davidson. If I say to you the words Harley Davidson, what do you think of? You and I both know that Harley Davidson is more American than America. Well, it comes as no surprise to many that Harley Davidson is starting to lose sales and people are just not buying Harleys anymore, and we all know why. It's pretty obvious really. The target market is just no longer there. There's the market for bad boy cruiser bikes is diminishing because the world's moved on. The whole Sons of Anarchy lifestyle that we associate with Harleys and the rebel cause type stuff, that's all finished. So what does Harley do in return? Well, they shoot themselves in the back by saying that we're going to turn this iconic American, all-American brand into something completely different and hope for the best. So what have they done? Well, they've introduced a whole bunch of models made in India, and I think Harley have just sort of forgotten who they are as a company and what they represent, because India, as much as a wonderful place that it is, curries are curry and McDonald's is McDonald's. They are completely separate things, liked by completely different people. So someone who likes McDonald's is not going to like a curry. Okay, if you get my drift. Okay, that was a really bad example, but if you're going to buy a Harley, you're expecting American, and so these Indian Harleys, well, they're just that. They're not Harleys, they're Indian Harleys, and so it's completely changed what the core of the company is, and it's quite surprising really. Harley Davidson should have, in my opinion, just stuck with becoming a smaller niche brand, okay, and just forget the money. Just forget chasing big money and continued growth. Harley really should have just stopped looking at sales growth and sales charts altogether and just become a company a little bit like the way Lamborghini or Ferrari is in the car world. They're just smaller contracting company that is catering for a very specific target niche. They are not going to be selling thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bikes like they used to, and that would be okay. But here's a company that's based on tradition and history and not much technological advancements in their bikes, and they are forgetting all that and they're trying to change the company into something completely different, and it's going to be super difficult to do that when you've built your whole company around this concept of old style cruiser bikes, this old cool awesomeness that is now being replaced with these electrical bikes and branching out into different models that don't look like they used to, and it's not working for them. So the executives of Harley are probably sitting around a boardroom table somewhere and going, well, what are some of the other companies doing? All right, so let's have a look at Triumph. I think Triumph is a great example because they are not they're not the big Jap 4. They are another company that's very similar to Harley in terms of tradition and whatever, but Triumph have, for quite a long time now, have already started doing racing bikes and have started doing, branching out into different things with the Street Triple and those sorts of things, and the Speed Triple and the Daytonas. Harley haven't done that. Harley have stuck to their guns. Buell, okay, let's not talk about Buell too much. That was a little, I suppose, mistake by Harley with what happened there, with the way that all panned out in the end. But Triumph are going to continue selling their cruisers and their old school retro looking bikes because they've got that market there. But that's not where they're headed, because for a while now they've expanded into those other markets, and they're going to stay afloat because of their other bits. They're going to stay afloat because of the Tigers. They're going to stay afloat because of their Street Triple and their Speed Triple and all of those new models that they've got coming out. But this is not something that's happened overnight. It's been going for a long time. Harley cannot replicate Triumph because they did not have the history that Triumph have. Harley is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They need to somehow keep their image of what Harley is, and that whole Americana, we are American, America. They can't start saying, oh well, let's ship our production offshore, let's start importing, let's start building budget motorcycles, because that's not what Harley is. It's kind of like saying, why doesn't Lamborghini try to increase sales by bringing out a whole bunch of budget models to cater for the everyday person. Right? That would completely diminish Lamborghini's image, and Harley cannot do that. Harley needs to maintain that prestige, the top end of the market, excessive prices for old school looking bikes that are, nowadays quite reliable. So yeah, interesting developments at Harley. All right, so what can Harley do to move forward? Well, I think there's two things here. Harley as a company needs to stay Harley Davidson. If the executives want to start a new company, they want to branch out, start a new brand, start a new direction with a different name. Already Harley's not using American-made things. Why not diversify the portfolio with a new brand? You could use the dealer network to expand and introduce new models with a new brand, and then you're leaving the Harley brand alone, which is already being tarnished. I would leave it alone and just continue selling cruisers and leave it at that. I would also say there's been a bit of backlash about the lack of development of the engines. Harley hasn't exactly been a progressive, forward-thinking company, and I don't think they need to change that. I think they need to just gently move forward with what they're doing, continue selling their current models, slight updates here, little improvements there, keep the air-cooled stuff if they can. Obviously they need to keep an eye on emissions and the whole environmental impact, but overall I think they just need to continue selling their cruisers and their touring cruisers and keep it at that. Don't tarnish the brand anymore. So me personally, I continue to love my Roadster, and in terms of my motorcycle history, I'm very late to Harley. I've had a whole bunch of bikes before this, and I'm loving the Harley lifestyle, and I'm loving the experience, the vibe, the whole concept of what Harley is these days. For me personally, I would say it would be a hindrance. Like it would really kind of be annoying if Harley all of a sudden started going off into this tangent of street bikes and races and super sports and all this sort of other things. It would just tarnish that whole concept of what Harley is, of what why I bought a Harley, why I enjoy that V-twin rumble and the slightly obnoxious sound and the amazing torque and the stripped down look of my Roadster. So I don't want that to be washed out and sort of disappearing in the future. I think people will come around to Harley again. There's going to be a time when people will come back to the brand and will appreciate its awesomeness, but that'll take time because currently the market is just too forward, too progressive, and Harley can't go along and can't compete with. Well, I don't think they can at this point with the other brands. They're just too late to the party. In a nutshell, Harley should just keep doing what they do best. Market share's going to drop, but just keep going as you are. You are awesome as you are. Don't change.